Hey everyone, welcome to Tellor Dev Call, special Tuesday edition. So today, what's the big news of the week? Lots of hacks, big Ethereum stuff happening this weekend. Super fun. In Tellerland, we kicked off the new vote, ID 6, just about there. We need like a handful of wallets to go vote. So we're just going to go kick people and make them do that. And then the new treasury will be passed. So that's kind of on the forefront, what we're looking at doing. On the dev side, yeah, big things. Hopefully, probably later this week, going to make a repo, start Tellor 360. We'll probably just fork the other Tellor. I don't know, maybe we'll fork it or just start a new repo. We'll see, because it'll be similar. Yeah. So, because I think we'll probably want to just use the Tellor Flex repo, right? And then basically the only thing the Tellor 360 repo should have is going to be what we upgrade that main contract address to. So it should be good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it should be like the whole Tellor 360 repo should be a whole lot smaller. It should just be like 2 contracts. It'll be like master and then what we're upgrading master to, but there's like autopay will live in its own repo, flex will live in its own repo. And I mean, I think we'll make changes obviously on those, but those can be like separate. So we'll document kind of a good plan, and that'll be nice. We can sort of split out the work across repos. We won't be stepping on each other's toes. So yeah, that's kind of on my list of things to do today. So Owen, back in California, I'm assuming?
Yeah, back here. Good to be back. What's not good is the change in dev call time, but that's fine. 3 hours earlier. But yeah, it's good. Yesterday I was working on Diva's stuff, like their updated thing, just getting the tests passing and whatnot for like the encoding. It's kind of interesting, like the encoding, at least in Python, it's like the same for, like how in Solidity, like you do like ABI.encode, like UN256, and you can do like UN256 times 18. But then you can also do like so since it's like 2 of those, and normally you just do like UN256 times 18, like as a string, and then like comma, another one of those, like that's what it would be. But then you can also write it as a tuple. Like you can do like parentheses, UN, and then like comma. And that's like an entire string. It's the same encoding. Anyway, so that's good. Get that pushed and like merged today. Also review Lawrence. But the thing that's still like kind of sticking, which I haven't been able to figure out, is Akram's like TipListener. Like I don't get why the tests are failing. So I think I'm just gonna like rewrite the contracts as like mocks, because like he's deploying the entire like contracts, and maybe if like I just use the functions that it needs, we'll be able to like isolate the problem. But
are you using the playground?
I don't know. No, I believe
autopay, and yeah, I'm using autopay mostly. I'm trying to run through it like as in a real scenario. It's too many functions, I thought, to make it into a mock. That's why I just used the whole contract.
Yeah. I wonder why it's failing.
It's a GitHub Actions thing, right? Oh no, for you actually on the command on GitHub, the reason it's failing is because it's not pointing to the it's not getting it's a modular error where it can't find the autopay files on the Telliot core side, because I guess it's looking to an older version where they don't exist there yet. So I'm not sure how to make it point. That's one thing. Another thing for, I think, Owen, it's failing because it's it's telling him there's a signature error, but I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. Like the tests are failing like locally for me, but not for a creme. So Tally or Tim, if you guys could pull down the latest from one-time tip branch and run the test and see if they pass, that would be very helpful. But yeah, so we're gonna get that figured out like either today or tomorrow, because and then review Lauren's PR as well for the API query.
Cool. No, that'll be good. Once we get this tip listener up, then it's like,
yeah, I mean, like we'll get it, like give like some feedback on it, get it merged and like tweak it, and then we need, you know, it to like run and like test it for a bit.
I'm sure Spuddy will break it. So got it. Yeah. And I mean, same with we have to revisit the disputer again. It seems like that's given us some issues too. Making sure that that thing can stay stable, which will be key. So awesome. Quentin.
Yeah, so I'm working on the Zodiac module. I actually deployed it today and I'm testing it on Ricochet. I was able to, you know, make some functions work, but I'm getting an error on executing proposals. But it could be that I'm using wrong function hashes. So I'm gonna give that a try next time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping probably in the next few days we'll be done with it.
Yeah, all tests are passing, so it should be a minor issue.
Yeah, and then once we get that, we'll present it to them. That'll be nice for going into Gnosis. We'll basically be integrated with Snapshot and then the Gnosis wallet pretty directly, which will be cool. And then we can reach out to Gnosis and they have a nice little arm, which is we have some connections at over at Gnosis, so we're going to reach out to them and then maybe even go over to XDAI chain. So somebody might, or Gnosis chain is what it now is, but we may at some point go over there. Yeah, so it'll be fun. Tally.
Hey guys, the gas price Oracle, with the exception of testing on Ricochet, the code is done, and for Algorand, we're working. Akram and I are working on. Well, I just deployed it to testnet, the BTC USD sort of like system there, and we're going to do some manual checks, and also we wrote some like CLI tools for the hackathon. So we're going to update those for the V2 so that people can use them, and that will make sense for this version relative to the last version. And then I picked up got my eyes on a Telliot bug where request to Gemini failed, I think. That's my eyeball impression, but soon to take a closer look at it.
I agree.
All right. Might be as simple as changing an API. So
yeah.
What's interesting, because before Gemini, it was trying CoinGecko.
Okay.
When CoinGecko failed, it would crash it. Now when Gemini fails, it crashes it. So
nice.
Rate limit.
Cool. By the way, who's signed up for Hack Money? That starts at the end of this week. So Tally, Lauren, go sign up. I mean, if you guys need a project, I have plenty of ideas, but you know, I would love, you know, hopefully we can get Telliot stable and there's nothing like super pressing. So then you guys can take, you know, just take a few hours a week, just throw something together to submit. It's a month, I think it's like a month-long hackathon online. So, you know, a few hours a week over 3 or 4 weeks, you can spin up an MVP on a Solidity project. So
Yeah, I'll do it.
It'll be fun. And if you win a prize, you get to keep said prize. So go try and win some prizes, which is good. I mean, and if you want, like, yeah, we can have hackathon. If you really want a prize, reach out. We can teach you guys how to go get them. It's all going about, you got to go look at who's the sponsors are. Because you remember there's been a few times like we've sponsored hackathons and like nobody builds on us. So like literally if you submitted anything, you would have gotten $1,000. And if you find like those unpopular sponsors sometimes, like it's like literally just free money. Yeah. So you can, $1,000 is always nice. So.
And by the way, I sent a link to Tim and Owen, which allows you to register your Discord name as a sponsor member, a member of a sponsored company, which then gives you some privileges in the hacker Discord.
They can see you.
Oh, here I am.
You can be in the Tellor internal.
So let me know if you got that. And if anybody's interested in having and being more active in the Discord during the hackathon, that means, you know,
I was going to pick it up.
Answering questions and things like that. If people have them, let me know and I'll send you that link. But I thought Tim and Owen would be good enough.
Cool. Lauren.
I sent in the PR for the query type thing, so Owen's going to look at it. I'm having a lot of issues with the testing, and I suspect it's something wrong with my computer. So, Owen, if you try even just running any of the tests, I guess we can see if that's true or not, and then I can tackle it from there. And then if you want, I can start looking at the switching over to local tests on the Telliot feed example side, just kind of copying the same thing that we did on the Telliot core stuff. And then I'll sign up for the hackathon too.
Sweet. All right. Yeah, knock that stuff out. And then once you get some free time, maybe if you want to look at the disputer too. All right. Try and make it stable. Or do you have one up and running? I think you spun one up, right?
No, I didn't. I don't know.
Lauren, do you have one?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, yeah, spin it up and see how long it lasts for you and what
Okay.
works. So
There's 2 different bugs.
Spuddy says he has 2 different bugs. You posted them, I'm guessing. Okay.
Okay, I'll look at them.
All right, a creme.
Don't have much on my side except what Tally talked about, the Algorand command line scripting the functions to make it easier to run there. That's it. I was looking at the GitHub actions, see if I can manipulate it to look at the right, but it seems like it's too much of a change, so I don't want to break it. That's it.
Cool, and then getting the tip listener working. It's kind of on our yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant by the GitHub actions for the tip
Yeah.
listener to pass on GitHub.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and then I mean we always kind of on the back burner too. If you're looking for things, we always got those Telliot tests just to wrap up. So keep that in mind.
Okay.
Yeah, fun stuff. So, but all right, Tim.
Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, yesterday I had to put Ricochet on the back burner as I was doing a lot of troubleshooting for Diva, helping them get their tests running. We just had some weird errors and stuff, but it looks like those are back on track.
Anything that had to do with our stuff?
There is still one weird thing that I don't know if it's us. It seems like, I don't know. So we were having trouble calling submit value on the playground. But once I had called the faucet function right before calling submit value, for some reason, then everything started working, which doesn't really make any sense.
Did you need like an await there and the faucet's acting as it?
Yeah, it could be something like that. It's kind of unexpected behavior, but it looks like Vlad over at Diva, he said he like reinstalled all of his yarn packages and then everything started working again. So who knows if it's just some weird error in a dependency. It was definitely strange behavior.
Cool.
And, I don't see anything clearly in the submit value function in the playground that would explain why the faucet would make that work.
No.
There's no need for the person calling that function to have tokens. So I don't know. But it looks like, yeah, the tests are running now. So anyways, so I'm picking back up on Ricochet today. And also a big thing on my plate is I've got a workshop for Hack Money tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Which
what time's that at?
It is at 3.
Cool.
And they kind of just told us about it tomorrow or yesterday. Or at least, yeah, told us about the slot and what's actually expected. Anyway,
how long do you got?
Looks like it says 30 minutes.
If for some reason, like, you need an extra time, they got back to me and said that there is another slot on Tuesday next week. But I think doing it this week would be best anyway if we can. But I know, like, really last minute.
I agree. And yeah, I think like talking about Tellor and going through an easy example would be no problem. I think I can easily do that tomorrow. I guess the tricky thing is, putting together slides in time. But
Well, you look at mine. So in the presentation folder, I'll just send it in the chat. We got one from intro to implementation. Talks about what are oracles, and then at the end there's like a slide that's just blank that says walkthrough. So
okay,
you can throw it in the chat here. But yeah, you can just like chop them up as much as you want. It was for an hour-long talk I gave, but you can explain. I think there's like 20 slides, so you can.
Oh, nice. Okay. That should be helpful. And yeah, I think, it'll be no problem doing it tomorrow. And I agree that would be better doing it at the beginning. Yeah, so that's what I'm working on.
Cool. By the way, does anybody know how to do hard hat tests with 2 different networks? So if I wanted to test like a bridge.
Oh, interesting.
Like when we were looking at like if we wanted to test like actually bridging, could you deploy like in the test like deploy a token to this chain and then to this chain in a single test?
You could spin up like 2 different Ganache instances on different ports.
And then can you refer to it like in line, like which chain you're going to talk to in a hard hat test? Because like I know you can run the hard hat test on this network, but can you like switch with the one you're interacting with kind of in the same test file?
I don't know about that.
I don't think so, but anyway, it would be cool if you could.
If you wrote a tool for that, I bet people would use it.
That's like the state of the space always. That would be really helpful. You should write a tool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's like some janky way I can do it. Like that we used to do it, with old Tellor stuff. You would spin up your hard hats and it would just tell you like, make sure you're running it on these ports, and then the tests would work. But
yeah, I think you can reset your provider in the test file.
Oh, like just change provider midway, and then you could. Yeah, that might work.
That might be a way to go.
So if you like just spun two ganaches up on the side, and then reset it to those local instances. Yeah. That's a good idea. Okay. Ev, yeah.
It's an interesting problem.
For sure. And the other thing, if you guys saw, I posted in one of the chats, but Komodo or Beanstalk reached out to us about potentially integrating with them. We have a call later in the week, but it was because they saw us in their community call. They just saw the name Tellor there, and Ryan was hanging out, I think. And so if you guys have any free time or like you're just bored and want to listen to other projects, like we very, very much encourage that. Showing support for these other projects is like, I mean, it's the best thing you can do. Like, you know, these guys, like if you just actually become friends with them, like then they're going to use us.
If anybody wants to be included, I'm going to start making calendar events.
Oh, good idea.
So if anybody wants to be included, let me know.
If you're interested and it's cool, you get to learn more about these other projects. And so
yeah.
Anyway, all right.
Add me on there.
Real quick, like what was the verdict on like signing up as a sponsor versus like not for Hack Money?
We're sponsors.
Yeah, but like Mike sent something to me and Tim about like signing up. Is he right there? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm right here.
Like, is it better that we sign up like as not sponsors, or like should we sign up as sponsors?
All that this we're talking about is like they'll include you, like there's like a Tellor internal channel, and if people have questions on integrating Tellor, they know who to reach out to.
Got it. So Tim, you got that?
Yeah. So that's it. It has nothing to do with like your submissions for your own project or anything like that. Don't worry about those. Yeah. All right, now for the man of the hour, Tim, on to you.
All right.
By the way, for a background, we asked Tim to give a little presentation on Filecoin, just so we could all learn a little bit as a group. So, any other background, Tim?
No. Yeah, this will just be Filecoin 101. Sharing my screen. Where's the one? All right, so yeah, this is just going to be a simple introduction to Filecoin. I'm going to go over what it is, why it exists, and then some of the mechanics of how it works. And then I'll show a quick demo of actually using it and uploading a file. So what is Filecoin? It is a distributed data storage protocol made by Protocol Labs, and it incentivizes people to store data using the IPFS protocol. So then we need to back up a little bit. What is IPFS? IPFS is a data storage protocol. And it's a distributed data storage protocol. So you can have one file that you upload to your IPFS node, and you can have your friends also back up that file. And as long as someone on the network is storing this file, you can, in theory, retrieve it. So IPFS uses something known as content addressing, which is distinct from the classic
way of retrieving data on the internet, location addressing. So with location addressing, if you want a particular file, you can see that example.com file.txt, that actually points to a file in a particular location. So example.com maps to a certain IP address. So that file.txt exists at that IP address in a certain location, which then depends on that one IP address existing or that one server continuing to exist. And if the server goes down, then the file is lost. So that's the old school way of storing and retrieving files. But with IPFS, you use content addressing. So when you upload a file to IPFS, you get a unique identifier. It might look like that first line under content addressed. It's a cryptographic hash of the file. So that means it's a unique identifier for that particular file. If the file changes, then the hash changes. So when you look up some data on IPFS, you're looking for that particular identifier, that hash, and it doesn't matter where that file exists on the network. As long as someone is storing it, then you can retrieve it, which I think you can see is much more resilient. So it doesn't depend on any one particular computer or server to keep storing your file. And also, the fact that files are represented or addressed by their hash as a unique identifier, that adds some security so that I know I want this one particular file with this hash. So then when I retrieve it, I can see that it hasn't been changed, because if it changes, it will have a completely different hash. So IPFS, because you're using content addressing, and because you don't care where the data is stored, you get some more resilience by you can pin the file, store it on your own node. You can use some free services, pinning services like Pinata, and you can also ask a friend to store your file. And now you have a pretty resilient file backup system. But that still is depending on altruism. So you still don't really have very good guarantees that your file will continue to exist. So how could you actually have some better guarantees? That is where Filecoin comes in. So Filecoin adds an incentive layer on top of IPFS. Filecoin, using Filecoin, you make a deal with data storage providers, and they agree to store your data for a certain amount of time in exchange for a payment. And as we'll see in a little bit, they have to keep proving that they're storing your data, or else they are penalized. And something I should note is that the Filecoin network itself does not actually store your data. Filecoin is storing the deals that you make. It's basically creating contracts saying that this person will store this particular data for X amount of time. And Filecoin keeps verifying with the data storage providers that they're actually storing this data and honoring their deal. So making a deal is just the word that Filecoin uses for an agreement between someone who requests data storage and a data storage provider. So to store some data on Filecoin, you make a deal with a data provider offline. They agree to store this particular file for this amount of time in exchange for a certain payment. You do all that offline, and then finally, the storage provider commits the deal on chain to Filecoin. And that's how, at that point in time, the deal is secured. And then probably for best practices, you should make multiple deals with multiple providers, just so you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, just in case anyone fails.
It seems like kind of centralized, right? Or, you know, like or I guess like, how do you find a Filecoin provider? Is there like a list somewhere? Or is it you just like ping the network and somebody picks it up?
Yeah, that is a little, in theory, centralized. Yeah, there are different websites online. You can go see different providers. Yeah, I guess there is no way to just look on the Filecoin chain and communicate with providers that way. But I mean, you're not depending on just one particular, website to host all that. It could potentially exist in multiple places.
Are the storage providers supposed to run like the client software? So like there's some sort of like peer discovery. So like if you run it as well, then you would discover those storage providers?
Yeah.
Then the question would be, how do you contact them?
Right. Yeah, well, actually, you can actually communicate with storage providers through the client software. Yeah, so actually, yeah, that's one way to do it. And they actually set some settings, like they'll put their prices and all that stuff. And then there's a way to automatically negotiate the deal, with computers, with software, and put in your parameters, what you're willing to spend and take.
Nice.
So you have these two main roles in the Filecoin network. You have provers, which would be the data storage providers, and they stake Filecoin tokens. And then they make their deals offline, and then they commit those deals on chain. And then they have to continuously keep proving that they're storing the data they said they would store. And by doing that, they can earn block rewards. And by doing that, they can prevent themselves from getting slashed, from losing the stake that they provided.
Is Filecoin like I'm guessing it's not an EVM. Do they have smart contracts on their network?
They have limited smart contracts. Yeah, I don't think they have just any arbitrary, Turing complete contract that you can make, but they have these specific Filecoin deals you can make. You can also, there's also payment channels. So
Cool.
yeah, there's limited smart contracts in a sense. And then you also have verifiers, the full nodes, and they are continuously proving or verifying the proofs from the data storage providers or the provers. And those are the ones who have to maintain consensus. So you're always having this back and forth between verifiers and provers, where provers keep receiving these challenges. They have to keep proving that they're storing certain data, and then verifiers are always verifying that those proofs. So then you have these two types of proofs: proof of replication and proof of space-time. Proof of replication occurs once as a deal is being secured. So this just ensures that when someone makes a deal to store some data, this is verifying that the storage provider actually has that data in the first place. So it uses fancy cryptography, ZK snarks, which allows the network to verify that certain data exists, but you could have giant data sets, lots of data being stored, but you don't have to actually pass around all of that data. So you can prove properties about a giant data set without actually passing that data all around the network. So lots of nodes can verify the integrity of the network without having to download 10 terabytes of data or whatever. And then you also have proof of space-time. So that is the continuous, always ongoing proof. So that is where the interaction between provers and verifiers happens. Verifiers keep requesting that provers are holding some little chunk of data, and they just are randomly proving that they have one little chunk over here and over there. And so it's providing probabilistic proof because of that randomness. So anyways, the odds of actually being able to game the network by only storing part of the data you agreed to is pretty low. And again, we're using ZK snarks to make that process efficient. Oh, and
how's it randomly selecting those like little chunks of data to verify? That's happening with like the client software?
Yeah, there is some source of pseudo randomness in the Filecoin chain. I think it has to do with some kind of block hash, but that I'm not 100% sure on. And yeah, I think I mentioned if the provers fail to provide the proof that they need to provide, then they lose some or all of their stake. So then also, for this data storage to be useful, we actually have to make sure that that data can be retrieved as well. So that's another type of deal that goes on. Anyone that needs to retrieve certain data, they also make a deal with data providers And so there's a process of discovery of different data providers. Those data providers have parameters for how much they charge for relaying some data. And after a deal is made, then a payment channel is created on the Filecoin network. And then the data provider starts sending the data over, and it's metered. And once you reach a certain threshold, then the person has to pay some money to get some more data. And so there's a back and forth of exchanging data and payment. So that seems to be another argument for making sure that there are multiple data providers, so that one of them doesn't just have a monopoly on the data and they can't just charge a super high price. So this, yeah, in summary, how IPFS works. I mean, Filecoin. IPFS is a distributed storage protocol, and then Filecoin adds.
Well, Tim, I mean, what would be like the reason that we were sort of looking to do some cool stuff with Tellor? Do you want to like explain like what could Tellor possibly do with this?
Yeah, Tellor could. I could see a place where Tellor could provide similar functionality to what Filecoin is providing, where Tellor reporters could check that a certain piece of data continues to exist, or that someone is actually storing some data.
Yeah, I mean, to me, you could build Filecoin on Ethereum.
Right.
Like, you know,
which might be even better. Put it all there.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I think there's some pieces too that like you just, you know, you could hand wave over and create some reputation-based systems, like, you know, the sending little pieces of data for money, like that's like the classic problem of like, one person has the data, the other person has the money. If I send the money first, you won't send the data. If you send the data first, I'm not going to send the money. And so they like have to stream it at the same time to make sure that nobody's cheating each other. And like in my mind, like you could just be like, no, like you're going to screw your reputation over if you do this. Like send the data, and or you just have like an escrow account, you know, and it sort of works that way. Lots of different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and it seems like it would be better to put it on Ethereum where you can have full contracts, and
well, you could just make it
where a lot of people
yeah are. I mean, that's what I would do. The other thing we can also use, we would love to use IPFS to store. So like right now we have, you know, the query type stored on GitHub. Move that to IPFS. It makes it super simple. Adding, you know, just basically anything you could want. Like if somebody posted something on IPFS, Tellor could return the data, could return, you know, you could theoretically store long functions on IPFS. So like, and then Tellor could act as like you put the input in on Ethereum, Tellor goes and run the function that's on IPFS, and then you pull it back. So now we're like an off-chain computation engine. Lots of super fun things you can do with it. So.
Yeah, exactly. And a big cool thing about that is that you can just reference that content identifier on chain. And you know that, and that content identifier can just represent a giant chunk of data.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there is a lot of potential to mess around with this stuff. try different cool things.
Are there places where you can go and see kind of like the state of Filecoin? Like with Ethereum, you can like go and see a dashboard of like all the current nodes and whatnot.
Yeah,
That exists.
yeah, we were gonna.
The cost of it.
I was gonna do a quick demo, and we can see that there.
Like a gas tracker.
Yeah, or like a block explorer. Is that? Yeah, they have that. Yeah. So okay.
Yeah, just like seeing how many people are using it and like how much of the data is like Protocol Labs is, you know, running through versus like how many, yeah, just how many people are actually using it.
Yeah.
How many storage providers there are, that kind of thing.
Yeah, there is. There's a block explorer. It does, as far as who's actually using it and everything, that's a good question. It looks like Protocol Labs is subsidizing this a lot. Like, so you have all these, a couple different ways of accessing IPFS and Filecoin. Lotus is the Filecoin, the main CLI client. And then you have some simpler like website front ends. Web3.storage is the one that we're going to look at. And it looks like that's provided by Protocol Labs, and they provide 1 terabyte for free. And they even say if you need more, that's also free.
They need
Yeah.
users.
Yeah.
That's what that means.
Well, they
Okay.
what did they raise? I think they raised like hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
It's obscene amounts of money. So
They got to do something with that cash.
yeah, you can store a terabyte for free for people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think they're trying to bootstrap things because it sounds like they have plans to add payment plans, but and then there's also another similar service, Space.storage, with a lot less storage, 5 gigabytes, but that one is also pretty user friendly. And then also note that if anyone wants to just play around with IPFS, you can easily run an IPFS node from Brave browser. If you go into your settings, it's built in, you just have to enable it. And that's probably the simplest way to get an IPFS node up and running. So yeah, let's look at this web3.storage. So this is easy to log in to. I just logged in through my GitHub account. And so the other day I uploaded this one file, just this Solidity image. So what happened was I uploaded the file, and then it immediately said it was pinned on IPFS. So that just means a couple of IPFS nodes were storing it for free. Now that didn't have anything to do with Filecoin yet. It took 2 days for some reason, but eventually then the data was actually, it was secured by a deal on Filecoin by 3 storage providers, and you can see each of those deals here. But before we look into that, I'm just gonna upload a file real quick, and we'll add another one. Let's go with the Tellor swoosh.
So you say you logged in with GitHub. How did you pay again? You also have to connect.
It was free.
MetaMask.
Oh, this is free.
This one's free. Okay, never mind.
I didn't reach the gig yet, so.
Okay.
I mean the terabyte. Yeah, they are trying to bootstrap things for now. So now the Tellor swoosh is being uploaded to IPFS, and then in about 2 days, it should also be secured by Filecoin. And in Owen here, we can see a block explorer.
Cool.
Where do you see like how
So-
long they're gonna store it?
Yeah. Let's see. Well, I think I think it said somewhere in here how long they were going to do it. Apparently the max amount of time on Filecoin is 2 years. That's the max deal length you can make right now.
So like if you make a 2-year deal with a storage provider, they have like that amount of fill or Filecoin or whatever staked for 2 years.
Yeah, so that means that there's a certain amount of Filecoin that they can't unstake for that amount of time. Yeah. And so the more data that they're storing, the more they have to have staked.
Nice.
Yeah, so they seem to make it pretty easy to get up and running on Filecoin with these front ends. I also did download the Lotus client, which took about 70 gigabytes to get up and running with the Lite client, the Lite node. And the hardware requirements are pretty hefty on that. So I think I would recommend for most people to try to use it through this Web3.storage or through Fleek.
All right. Well, I got a call come up in 5 minutes. How much more you got, Tim?
That should cover it.
All right.
Nice.
Well, guys, any last questions? But more so, you guys can always reach out to Tim anytime.
Anytime.
Save the presentation though on the shared drive, either under trainings or presentations.
Okay.
Yeah. And for those watching, if you want to build one of those Tellor Filecoin integrations, reach on out. That'd be cool.
Money.
Yeah. Well, Filecoin has some big hackathons themselves, I think. So
We'll
time
have for
it.
that.
Yeah. So cool. Well, thanks so much, Tim. This was awesome. We'll schedule somebody else here soon. So we'll see. I think Quentin might be next again. He does some fun ones. So, all right. Well, thanks everyone. Talk to you guys later.
Thanks for listening.